Nothing is meaningful without a context. There's not one thing in your life that's meaningful without a context. You may say, well, isn't Jesus meaningful without a context? I say, well, if you're talking about Jesus Rodriguez in Mexico City, that's one thing. If you're talking about Jesus in the context of Scripture and eternity, that's a different meaning to the word. So basically, each word, each concept, each person is meaningful and more meaningful if you establish context. What you need to do in your life is to establish what is the context of my life. It's like, what does what I'm doing mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything if you haven't established the context. It doesn't mean anything if you're not oriented to a context in which that meaning happens. Now, the first tool I'd like to give you is 2A, which is North Star. The North Star, if you'd basically take, and by the way, I'd like to suggest you do these in this sequence. I'm going to teach you 3 tools this session. The first one you fill out, the first one you use is called the North Star. We have a cottage up in Canada, and each summer I have about 3 months where I get away and think something through, and often it results in a book. Many of the books you'll read of mine happened one summer in Canada. Well, this summer in Canada, I was sort of in this disoriented period where I didn't quite know who I was, where I was. It was just sort of a struggle. And so to shorten the story, it took me all summer to develop what you're seeing on your screen. Basically, it's a star. If you draw a star on your paper, the top, the bottom, so you got 5 points on the star. The top point is God. God is the number one orientation. That is a who question. Who is God? And if you see God to be Jesus Christ, God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Bible, that is one orientation you have to your life. If you see it to be there is no God, if you're an atheist, then that piece is missing. If you see it's Muhammad or whoever you see God to be, however you see God, that is your number one orientation point. By the way, the North Star, we don't use it as much anymore with our new technologies. But in the old days, when you're sailing across the ocean, if they didn't have a way of knowing which way was north, they'd be in a storm and they couldn't tell when they came out of the storm which way was north. So at night they'd look at the stars, and there was a star that gave them a sense of direction. Here is north, here's west, here's east, here's south. And so your North Star is not a destination that you arrive at. It is an orientation. It is a direction you're headed in life. So the first one is who? Who is God? By the way, I would suggest that you take an hour at some point and give yourself 3 minutes to answer each of these 5 questions. 2 minutes each, where you say, okay, in 2 minutes, I'm going to make a list of who I feel, just write out who I think God to be. You may say, Bob, I couldn't do that in 2 minutes. Well, try it. It works. If I give you 2 days, you may not be any clearer than you are at 2 minutes. Just try it. So in 1 hour or less, this North Star draft 1 can be complete. And you have your initial orientation in life, your current orientation in life. So you basically say, who is God? The way I see him today. Now, next year, you may see a little bit different based on your devotions, but who do you see God today? The second question on the left wing of your star is purpose or mission. In 45 years of thinking about it, I can't distinguish between purpose and mission. They're basically the same thing in my mind. But it's a why question. Why are we here? If we become believers, why does God leave us on the planet? So why are we here is our purpose statement. Then the other wing is dream or vision. And I can't distinguish between dream and vision. Some people use dream to say it. Some people use vision to say what they're talking about. But that is a what question. What difference will we make while we're here? Between now and the time we die, what difference do we want to make? That's your dream. I dream someday of having this, of a church of this, or a company of this. That's my dream. Someday before I die, I want to have this. What are you dreaming about? Now, your dream should not be measurable. That's a plan. You say, well, I plan to have 1,000 people attending our church or 100 people attending our church. Well, that's a plan. But to have our church influence thousands of people is more a dream. Then the lower left wing is life work. That is a how question. How will we do it for the rest of our life? That is as a consultant or as a pastor or building this church or building this organization. And then the last wing of your star is legacy. How long do we want it to last? How long will our work last beyond our death? And so if you can answer each of those questions in a period of 2 minutes, draft one, come back a week later, refine it, come back a week later, refine it. What you're going to find is that over just a month or so, after 1 hour and 10 minutes a month or so, you're going to find that these answers begin to be very, very clear. This is your biggest orientation star. And a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you get into that annual disorientation that I think it was Carl was asking about, come right back to here and you'll say, okay, I'm oriented now. Now, the second tool is your bucket list, to be. This gives you not only orientation, to be gives you the bucket list, gives you life perspective. Orientation is what is all of life about. This gives you, all right, I as a person, what do I want to be in life? Who am I in life? This answers your question, who am I in life? And what do I want out of life? All on one sheet of paper. Now, here's how you do it. First of all, you put down in B what you want to be. And down on the left side there, I've listed some things that you might consider. I want to be that's some of the I got off my list. I want to be a Christian. I want to be a husband, a father, a son, a consultant, an executive, a mentor, a publisher, a giver, a friend, a personal. Now I've added grandfather, great grandfather, but there are things. Here's who I want to be in life. Next column is what do I want to do? If I could just do no more than, I don't have to do 10, but if I could do no more than 10 things before I die, what 10 things would I want to do? That goes in that column. And then if I could only have 10 things all together, if I could only have 10 things, what would I have? Now, what you're going to find, this is interesting because it's very typical. You get this filled out. It may take you an hour or two to fill it out. When you come back to it a week later, what you're going to find under have is you're going to say, the more I think about it, that used to be real important to me. I don't think that's important. I don't want to have that anymore. That's not really that important that I have that anymore. And then who do I want to help? Help is what individual that may be a handicapped niece, nephew, grandson, whatever. Who do I want to help? Individual or organization like World Vision or ELF or someone like that, or my church, or movement. That could be hunger in the world or something like that. Who do I want to help? Make a list. And again, you may have 50 people you want to help, but who are your top 10? And then the last column is what do I want to leave? When I die, what do I want to leave behind? And then you can take the row across and say, from a Christian perspective, what do I want to leave from a Christian perspective? Money for this organization or something. As a husband, what do I want to leave my wife? As a father, what do I want to leave my children? This bucket list is a very clarifying tool. I've used this for 25, 30 years. I go back to it every time I feel disoriented, or just anytime I want to focus, I go right back to it. And many of the things I've actually gotten done. Well, I keep them on there. This is the thing I want to do. I've done it, but I check it off. And then I've still got some things to do. At my age, I've still got some things I want to do, be better at, do, have, help. etc. Now, one of the things you might consider too is starring your top three in each column. What are the top three things you want to do before you die? Top three things you want to have, help, etc. And then take the top three and say, okay, if I could only have two of the three, put a double star on that. And if I could only have one of the three, which one of what do I have? And that gets a triple star. What you're going to find is that, boy, by the time you get to this filled out and you get your top three, top two, top one, you have got a very, very, very clear focus on your bucket list. This is something you may want to talk about with your husband or wife. You may want to talk about it just to yourself. It may be a quiet vision you have, a quiet dream that only you know about. You can share it with anyone you like, or you can keep it as private as you like. Another thing to do is to see that each of the tools I'll be orienting you today, introducing you to today, can be just for you personally. Or you could take this and apply it organizationally. As an organization, what are we trying to be in society? What are we trying to do? What would we like to have as an organization? Would we like to have a new headquarters? What would we like to have? And who are the people we want to help? And then what do we want to leave? If we all die and the organization is still here, what do we want? Notice you can apply each of these tools, whether it's North Star or a bucket list or any of the other tools I'll teach you today, to yourself personally, to your family, to your organization. And you can use them once you get it done. I would encourage you to consider scheduling a personal retreat day where you can go back while it's fresh in your thinking and fill out each one of these tools. And then a month later, go back and schedule yourself an hour just to update them, refine them, just to read through them. And you don't have to come up with them, just refine it. And what you're going to find is that once you get this down, updating it doesn't take that long. Now you're going to sometimes find, wait a minute, I've changed jobs. I feel disoriented again. Go back to your North Star. Is God still there? Is your purpose still there? Even though your job may have changed, your dream may even have changed, but God is still there. Your purpose is still there. In other words, what you're trying to be is still there. What you're trying to do, it's like the basic orientation you've got in your life is still there. Okay, let's look at 2C, your annual balance calendar. I'd like you to imagine in your mind for a moment a clock, just a big wall clock like we used to have on the wall, a big wall clock. Just imagine a big wall clock. Now, transfer the hours to the months, where the number 12 is actually December. 1 is January, 2 is February. Just imagine you've got that clock as a calendar. Okay? Now, you've got two kind of calendars. One is an annual calendar and one is a yearly calendar. Your annual calendar is what you do every year at this time. You do it year after year after year after year. And your yearly calendar is what we're going to do this year. There's 2000, whatever. Okay? Now, once you might want to take a flip chart sized piece of paper. You may want to take a whiteboard. You may want to take something and just draw this. And then on each month, put, all right, March 10th is my birthday. You put, okay, birthday, March 10th. August 22nd, our wedding anniversary. October 8th, wife's birthday. There's what are the key dates on there? And then you put, what are my busy seasons? And you say, our busy season is actually, like for a church, is like, probably September to December for getting ready for Christmas, and then getting ready for Easter, and then getting ready for vacation Bible school or whatever events you have. Then there are certain times of the year that are pretty quiet, like summer, like the couple weeks after Christmas, couple weeks after Easter, etc. There are busy times in your calendar, whatever your work is, and there are actually quiet times. When you get a look at that, then you say, okay, well, let me stop here just a second. Let me stop here just a second. Why are we doing this to begin with? Why are we putting together an annual balance calendar? One of the biggest struggles you have as a leader, have had, will have, is balancing your time between the office or your business or your ministry and your family or your home or your work, your personal life. That's one of the biggest struggles you'll it'll be there for the rest of your life. The only way you're going to establish balance in your life is to schedule it a year in advance. If I told you next week you have to take off a week, you say, Bob, you don't understand what I've got scheduled. This next week is a busy week for me. I say, yes, the only reason you can't take a week off next week is because you didn't schedule it a week ago. Or I'm sorry, you didn't schedule it a year ago on the calendar and simply keep it scheduled. Now, what you're asking yourself is, like, for example, on your annual balance calendar, when do we want to do an annual career path discussion? In other words, is there a time on the calendar we want to do our, what other people call staff evaluations? This is just an alphabetic list. All right, where are the key birthdays? Where do we have a board retreat? You don't put a board retreat right in the middle of your busy section. You put a board retreat somewhere in your, if you got 1 or 2 or 3 a year, put them in your slow seasons. Your celebrations. When are the celebrations? Christmas, Easter, etc. Due dates for next year's budgets. Well, the due dates for next year's budget is typically October 15th, maybe. File cleaning maintenance cycles. There's when do you clean your files? You don't do it in your busy season. You do it in your quiet season. What are our peak times? When do I take personal days? Now, I'd like to introduce you to another phrase, and that is one you can use 1,000 times in the next 100 years. You're going to live to be quite old, actually. You are at a phase of life. No matter where you are, you're at a phase of life. And in your 20s is a very different phase than your 30s. That's a very different phase in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So at this phase of your life, how many planning days do you need a year? And when do you want to have them in your slow seasons? Maybe once a quarter or something to have a personal planning day, personal days, couples retreats, etc. Where are your predictable emotional valleys? Study that year after year, and you may find, every year I found a pattern that every year in about August, pastors tend to get discouraged because vacation has gone on. People have been on vacation. They haven't been giving as much money. So giving is down, but the planning requirements for fall are up. And a lot of times pastors in August get discouraged. I used to get a lot of calls that way. And if that's you, put on there, August, be aware of discouragement time. And then with discouragement time, you can put on there, make a list of all the things done right. It's a phase I'm in. It's a time of year. It's a predictable time of year, etc. And just brings you right back to balance. Quiet times. At this phase of my life, how much quiet time do I need, and when do I need it? Do I need it early Saturday morning? Do I need it early Monday morning? Do I need it 8 to 12 on Tuesday? When do I need it? Any special events, team retreats, etc. And then every year, let's say December 1st, look at your annual balance calendar, schedule actual dates on your yearly calendar for 2000 whatever, and then send an email to your staff saying, here are the dates we'd like to set aside for the coming year. First of all, it helps you keep balanced. How many personal days do you need? By the way, you'd also set aside, like, how many, at this phase of our life, how many evenings do we need with the kids? How much time do I need with kids where? Put it on your calendar and don't negotiate it. When you never cancel a critical issue, a critical planning situation, or critical family situation. I say never cancel it, but you can reschedule it. So you've got 3 tools now: your North Star, your bucket list, and your annual balance calendar, that keep you oriented to life, keep you focused and balanced, and keep you oriented to life and as a context for your planning, etc.